Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to finish up our display board for Armies on Parade for the Astra Militarum. We're going to start things off by adding a sand texture into a couple of areas on the model, and we're doing that by just applying some wood glue, spreading it around, and then adding a decent layer of sand on top of that just to kind of lock everything in place. Now I'm going to add a couple of these just kind of around a few of the open areas on the board to create some extra texture that we can highlight with some dry brushing later. Now because we're going to be gluing the sand down with a PVA glue, we can kind of go a little bit nuts and spill the sand over the edges of the glue. This will give it a much more natural appearance. So to seal in the sand, I decided to test out this glue that I found at the dollar store. It's a spray-on adhesive, and it worked way better than I thought it would, but I did find that I had to do it in 2 or 3 coats just to make sure everything stayed in place. Now for this little crater that we added in the earlier episodes, I'm going to create a kind of wooden plank bridge, and I'm just doing a quick test to see how much of a popsicle stick is going to fit in that area. Once I've got my rough measurements down, I'm just going to clip off the ends of the popsicle stick and kind of fit them all to the length that I want. Now I cut 4 pieces here, but ended up only using 3, because it happened that 3 pieces were just wide enough for a model base to stand on. So I want some cross pieces to kind of hold everything together, so I'm just going to mark out and trim another stick down and rip those in half to glue on and just kind of be those cross beams. And with a quick test fit to make sure that they all fit nicely in place, we're going to begin by doing a quick base coat of all of the grout and sand texture using some raw umber. Once that's done, we're going to do a medium dry brush of raw sienna over the sand areas as well as the rest of the raw umber layer. Now I'm going a little bit heavier on the sand because I want it to kind of stick into all of those little crevices. Now, unfortunately, the next part I had a little bit of a mistake. I set up the camera for the next couple of layers and forgot to hit the record button. So I'll just go over really quick how I did the layering effect. We started with some burnt sienna as a kind of a light to medium dry brush, just to give everything a little bit more of a sandy texture. Then followed it up with a light dry brushing of natural gray, and then finally finished it all off with another layer of raw sienna light dry brush. Now we're going to make something that I call rubble paste. This is going to be made of a couple of different mixtures of grit. I'm using some aquarium pebbles, some sand, some torn up cork, some ripped up cross-stitch mesh, and just kind of mixing it all together with some white PVA glue, some raw umber, and some raw sienna. This is just kind of gonna mix together, and the goal is to get everything roughly evenly coated. Now, if it ends up being a little bit too runny, add a small bit of sand, give it a quick mix, and you kind of want to go for a kind of a glop down effect. Just kind of take the paste, slap it down, spread it around just a little bit. The idea is to kind of create a rubble that is going to, once it dries, be glued down and solid. And while that's drying, we're going to do a very quick coat of wildwood on all of our plank sections for our walkway, and this little ladder kind of stair step that I made out of some of the dollar store meshing. To save on my supply of snakebite leather, I decided to test out some of the raw sienna on the ropes to see how it looked. Using a sheet of thin cork, I created a kind of destroyed and bombed out road, which I then coated with a layer of gray to function as asphalt. Once that was dry, I began making small little impact craters using a hobby knife just to kind of pick out a few little spots here and there to be little impacts or blast marks or bullet holes, whatever you want to call them. Then I followed it up with a light to medium dry brush using natural gray. This will give it kind of a light worn, weathered appearance of just kind of a beat-up, rugged road. Using a mix of black, raw umber, and water, I made a light wash, which I used on all of the road and some of the surfaces around it to create a kind of grungy, watered-down wash effect. Using some chipboard, I made some curbs for the road, and some of them I tore apart to kind of fit the impact areas, and then glued them all down using some hot glue. Now using some natural gray and raw umber, I painted the curbs just to give them a little bit of a different coloration from the rest of the road. Now making a little bit more rubble paste, I just kind of added a little bit more debris and rubble around the road area. Now using some burnt sienna, I'm doing a kind of heavy dry brush on all of the rubble areas once they've dried. And this is also going to be used on all the rubble that we previously put into the crater. Once that's dry, we're going to use a medium dry brush of gray just to kind of pick out a little bit of detail. And then follow that up with a light dry brushing of natural gray. But this ended up being a little bit brighter than I wanted it to be, so we're going to stipple on a little bit of Mars Black just to kind of dull down and mute some of that bright coloration. Then using some silver, we're going to dry brush all of the little mesh grating that had been glued down previously. Then I added some Null oil to create a grungy, weathered, destroyed look to everything. using some hot glue, I created a pool of kind of spilled plasma coming out of one of the pipes, and then quickly chilled it using a desktop fan. Then, once it was dried, I did a quick coating of brilliant blue, trying to keep it a little bit translucent. And then followed it up with a medium dry brushing of silver, just to give it that nice plasma glowy effect. And here we are. It's been 3 weeks, a whole lot of work hours, and so many sandbags, but here we are with the finished piece. Oh my goodness, everyone, this is my first terrain board that I've ever done. I cannot be happier with this, and I cannot wait to finish painting an army to stand on this. Those videos will be coming soon, so please keep tuned in to the channel. We will see you next time with more painting videos. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe for future content, comment in the comments section, and we will see you next episode.